Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to the Expert Interview Series, where we connect with talent acquisitions professionals and hiring managers with valuable and credible experiences to share some of their insights and practical advice with the talent community out there. Today, I'm very happy to connect with Brigita Ujpál, a senior talent partner at Adobe. Brigita, before we get started, could you please tell us a little bit more about yourself and your background?
Sure. So thank you for the introduction, Jana. As mentioned, I'm a talent acquisition professional with a decade of experience in international and mostly global setting, primarily focusing on the IT sector. And in my career, I've touched most aspects of the recruitment cycle, from sourcing candidates to consulting the business, also on strategic pipelining. And I've worked from agencies to RPOs and finally in-house talent acquisition. Currently, I'm a senior talent partner for engineering roles, working at Adobe, Basel, and partnering with the stakeholders across EMEA to fill the positions in this region.
Thank you so much. And also worth mentioning that Brigita and I are ex-colleagues. We worked in the past together at the recruitment agencies. That's how we met. It's a little backstory. So very happy to connect with you again. Thanks again for joining. I would like to start with a question which I think is on top of everyone's mind, considering the current competitive landscape of the job market. So how to stand out in the hiring process? What advice would you give to job seekers out there, or what stands out to you as an experienced recruitment professional?
I would say that it starts with a CV. So showing your interest, not just sending out simply a PDF version of your LinkedIn profile, but making an effort to build a clean and concise CV. Of course, there are exceptions, I would say, when it comes to temporary or contractual work. However, being mindful when applying for permanent positions where you can see, especially that the tenures within the organization are quite long, I would definitely encourage people to prepare a CV that is well written and sharp looking. Furthermore, I would also say that for the IT candidates who are applying for IT positions, I would really advise to include a portfolio of your work, links to various platforms such as GitHub, GitLab, Stack Overflow, or any professional portfolio website is always very helpful to already get a glimpse of your work so far. Also speaking at conferences and presenting your work there, it shows that you have a passion for your field of work and the ability to talk about basically your work and achievements is definitely also a sought-after skill that should not be underestimated. Beyond that, so once you're introduced to the recruitment process, I would say doing the due diligence and just preparing for the interview by understanding the company and getting all the information that's available. Asking what topics would be covered in what stages of the process, being prepared for the interview itself in a sense of if the interviews are happening online, making sure you're in an appropriate space with a good connection, that you're not disturbed, and also paying attention to the body language, even if the interview is happening online. And additionally, I would say that hard skills are as they are. So what you've built and developed in your career and what it took years for you to master, it cannot be learned in days ahead of the interview or improvised on at the interview itself. So be honest about the gaps in the knowledge or the shortcomings that you might have, because often this transparency and honesty where the skills gaps are, and then furthermore a commitment to overcome that, this is something that can really also distinguish a great candidate from an average one. So often we've seen that those candidates were also hired because of this transparency and then the potential to actually learn the skills that they would need. I would also emphasize a very good level of self-awareness here, just understanding where you stand professionally. So where are your strengths and what are your areas of improvement? And the necessity of keeping up to date with the industry trends, basically being a part of professional networks, understanding yourself in terms of what you want in your career will definitely also bring you closer to the right and more fulfilling role. And lastly, one thing that I would also mention here, which is quite important, especially in international and global environments.
Mhm.
If you are applying for a position where you know that you will be working in cross-cultural environments, or you will be working in an environment that it's, let's say, different from what you were working in before, it's important to be aware of all these aspects. So our communication styles, how basically other people from different backgrounds might perceive them. So confidence, giving feedback, negotiation, punctuality, and persuasion can all largely depend on the environment we were brought into or spent majority of our careers working in. So I would not underestimate that.
You brought up some really fantastic points there. Starting first of all with not being afraid, to speak about your achievements and, to make yourself visible, because I think that's something that a lot of candidates are maybe shy away from. They know what they've done, but they're afraid, to speak up. And of course, the point about the preparation, the research, the in-depth research that the candidate should really focus on before any process. And I really love your points about kind of critical assessing yourself and being self-aware on what are your weak sides, what are your strong sides, and being able to identify and set the path for for development. And of course, soft skills, even for technical roles, just like you said, everything about the communication, negotiation is all really so important. So thank you so much for bringing all of this up. And nowadays, I think among IT roles in particular, but also I think for other professionals, remote work is still a big buzzword. So what advice would you give to candidates that are looking for remote work?
So I can definitely confirm that we're seeing a rising trend with candidates only looking for a remote working setup. When it comes to the remote work, I would encourage each individual to consider why this would be the best setup, in a sense that we have different needs, and we are basically in the beginning of our career much more in the need also of the knowledge transfer. In that sense, the remote work is a trade-off. Basically, while it gives you this work-life flexibility, and it's definitely a very interesting option for the freedom aspect and also to work flexible in terms of what hours you want to work, I would say that as appealing as it is, people who are especially in the early years of the career should not neglect the aspect of missing on the opportunity for growth and development. I would encourage to really kind of consider how you would develop yourself professionally if you're solely working in this remote setup. And also when it comes to the companies, so innovations hardly happen in vacuum. So therefore exposure to new ideas and ways of working while we're working side to side with our colleagues is really invaluable.
Thank you so much. I definitely agree. Remote work is attractive as it sounds, but it's always a coin with two sides. And definitely on board with what you mentioned, especially for younger professionals. It's such a great advantage to have a team around, and it can also be a lot more stimulating. The environment can be a lot more stimulating for innovation and great ideas when you have your great colleagues bouncing ideas with you. So thank you for bringing this up. Another question that I would like to discuss with you, because we always talk about how challenging job searching is, how many obstacles one has to overcome. But I think it comes as a surprise to many candidates that while job searching is challenging, finding the right candidate is as challenging. Could you maybe tell us some insights about what challenges are you facing as a recruiter?
Definitely, of course, there are also challenges that we come across as recruiters. And here I would revert back to the question that we had before and emphasize again. So the soft skills, which are as important as the hard skills. So companies are also becoming more and more aware of the importance of psychological safety. So even if you excel in technical interviews, being mindful of your communication style and learning how to talk about your work, how you collaborate, and how you can work within a team with other people is very important. And this is also an aspect where sometimes it is challenging to find very, very good technical skills that are then paired with also very good soft skills.
Great, I understand. So the main challenge would be to find this right balance between the technical skills and the soft skills as well. Thank you so much for sharing that. I love this perspective that you have to bring from your personal experience. And when it comes to negotiation, I think this is another painful topic for many candidates. What advice would you give to job seekers out there that are going through negotiation right now or thinking, how do they approach this?
Yeah, that's a very good question. And here I would again talk about also a good level of self-awareness. First of all, knowing what your skill is worth, and doing also a good research in terms of the salaries that are appropriate for your region, for your level, and for the expertise level that you bring to the table. But that being said, solely focusing on the monetary aspect of the position, I consider it a little bit short-sighted. Essentially, there are quite a few elements that are basically coming into play when it comes to the salary and the compensation part, and are not to be neglected. Understanding better also what are all the benefits that would come with a compensation package, understanding what is the work-life balance, understanding the culture. So those are all non-monetary aspects that can really add so much to the work, and then they can fulfill you essentially a lot more than essentially some monetary aspects. So just to also keep that in mind. And another thing I would say, it's also not to necessarily close off certain doors to begin with. Asking the question too early in the recruitment process, understanding what the salary band is without having all the context that you would need for what the scope of the role would be. I consider that this is not having all the information at hand to begin with, and therefore can be more detrimental to the recruitment process than having this question asked at the right stage.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Brigita, for sharing all of your insights with us. I think we've covered some really great topics there, from how to stand out to some of the challenges that you are facing as a recruiter, to remote work, to negotiation. It was really a pleasure to speak with you today.
Well, thank you, Jana. It was also a pleasure speaking with you and sharing the expertise with your network.